Hey everyone, I'm Tim. Welcome back to Rated RV. Today we're bringing you part 3 of our series on replacing the countertop in our Class C Four Winds RV. When we bought the coach, it had a sag in the countertop. I assumed that it was from either water damage or improper installation. Turns out it was built improperly. So I'll put the link to that video right here. You can go check it out where we found the problem and how to take it out. In part 2 of the series, I'll also put that right here. We jump into the garage and fabricate out of a butcher block from the big box store. We fabricated a new countertop, cut it, finished it, routed it, and get it ready to go in. Now in this video, we're gonna show you how to put it back in, add the little side countertop. As always, please hit the subscribe button. Your support goes a long way. And we'd love for you to share this video on your social media to help grow our community. We really appreciate you watching, and now let's go tackle this installation. All right, we're back. The piece looks fantastic for the first coat. It's a little bit rough. I'm going to do 2 things today. First thing I'm going to do is I have some 320 grit, pretty fine sandpaper. I'm going to scuff off tops that I finished already. But before I do the second coat, I'm going to flip it over and do a quick coat on the bottom, especially in the fold-out piece that goes on the side of the countertop, the extension. I want to make sure that both sides have a nice coat on there. And then all the edges on the main countertop, I want to get the bottoms, make sure there's no drips. Get it sealed up, quick coat, and then I'm going to flip it back over, do my second coat on the top. Also today, I'm going to start getting the sink ready to put back together. Now, when it came from the factory, the basket in the bottom of the drain was installed improperly. It had this big rubber washer was in between the basket and the sink when it actually belongs underneath the sink below the nut. So what it did is just caused the basket to sit up a little bit higher than it should, allowing the water to puddle and potentially leak. So I want this thing down as close to the bottom of the sink as I can. So I'm going to do that today too. I'm going to put a bead of silicone around here in lieu of plumber's putty, so I just can get it down really tight, put it back together, and get the sink ready to go back in. Let's get started. These are quarter sheets folded in half. And then they married themselves together, giving me a nice surface to work with so that I don't put any fingerprints. My buddy Bruce taught me that years ago. Cool trick. So you're just knocking off the high, rough spots where any grain raised. And don't worry about scratching it, because when you put the second coat of finish on, it'll all amalgamate together. And you want to kind of stay with the grain as much as possible. The end grain, it really doesn't matter too much, but something in my brain tells me sand with the grain. So that's what I'm doing. If you guys have any tricks for finish or replacing countertops, leave them in the description below. You know, maybe we'll all learn something. By no means do I claim to be an expert in everything, but I tend to get stuff done, so I'm happy to share it with you guys too. This extension piece turned out really good. All right, I got the sink, I got the basket, and the parts that came with it. There is a cardboard washer that was underneath, sandwiched between the bottom of the sink and the nut. So because this thing was on the top of the sink and it was leaking for so long, that this cardboard washer is out of the sink for several days now and it's still wet. So the order that we're going to go in is basket goes in, bead of silicone on it, right to the sink. Then we're going to put the washer over it. Then we're going to put the cardboard washer. Then we're going to put the nut on it. We'll tighten it all up. Let the silicone set. And after that sets, we'll snug it up a little bit before we put the plumbing back on. The first thing I want to do though is I got a piece of Scotch-Brite, and I'm going to just clean up the edges. There was some putty holding the sink down, and I'm going to knock that off and make sure it's nice and clean before we put any silicone in it, back in it. But it's a pretty nice sink. They're not super expensive, but it's deep and it's a single bowl. I like the single bowl sinks more than the double because you can just do more stuff with it. I don't know that you would really need a double bowl. In my Encore, we have a single bowl stainless steel farm sink. It's really nice. Pretty sure I mentioned this before. There was, in this price point, there's only so much you can get. You're building an entire house on top of a truck chassis, basically. So to keep these things more affordable for, people like me, they just can't go top of the line with everything. I'm sure the guys that are in the factory are under pressure with a timeline to get stuff done, do it quickly. Some may not have the most experience. I'm sure they keep the most experienced guys for the more important stuff. Not getting water in your coach where it's not supposed to be is pretty important. So having something put together incorrectly it could be catastrophic in the long run. Because not only will moisture rot the wood components, this coach has a lot of wood components inside it, but also rodents and other pests are attracted to water. So if there's wet spots, they're going to go there. And we want to keep them out. They destroy stuff, especially mice. All right, great. That looks good. Just going to clean the dust off the inside of this so that the silicone sticks. This is an 8-inch, 21 1/4 by 17 1/8 single bowl, 20 gauge stainless steel sink, manufactured in February of 2017, made in Malaysia. We don't want to put too much because I don't want it oozing out all over the sink and make a mess for me to clean up. But I also want to make sure that it stays sealed and watertight. Yeah, I said water. Silicone's on there. And like I said, it's going right in the sink. Oh yeah, that's nice. Backside rubber washer, cardboard washer. It's just the cardboard's just to protect the rubber from when you put the nut on, and that's it. And then the nut. Alright, so it's nice and snug. Looks good over here. I'm going to flip it over and look at the inside. It's centered. I got a little bit of ooze coming out. Clean up, get a little bit another crank on here. That's pretty tight. It's in. I'm going to let it sit. It's sitting a lot flatter now than it was. So you just don't want the water, the water's just going to, you know, you got to think like water. Water rolls downhill and it finds the path of least resistance. So it does still have a little bit of a lip here, but that's just a design flaw. That's the way this stuff goes together, but it works. So the silicone will keep it out, the water will roll over the top, and hopefully for years of enjoyment. I'm going to let this thing sit and set up. So I'm ready to start putting this thing back together. The finish is dry. Top looks amazing. The hole for the faucet is drilled. I'm going to put a bead of caulk around a little bit of silicone right around the bottom of the sink basin. Drop that in, bolt it in, put the faucet in, get that ready, and then go drop the whole top into place. I also added a cleat onto the wall inside so that this thing has something to sit on in the back, and I know that it's a straight line right across the back on the existing cabinetry. It's just so I don't get a sag in it, and I have something to attach countertop to once I put it in. Attachment's important because this thing's driving down the road. All right, here we go. And here we go. It's not too awkward. Oh boy, that looks nice. So that's it. I think that's where it's going to stay. Pop a couple screws in there, get it secured, and then start putting it back together again. Yeah, it really looks great. There it is. There's a look at the top that's installed before I put it back together again, but it covers up most of that nonsense that was on the backsplash. Yeah, I'm really happy with it. It looks great. So let's put it back together. So these are the brackets for the countertop extension. I took them off and I moved them up so that they're flush with the bottom of the countertop, because for some reason they were installed from the factory about an inch lower than the top, so there was a gap, almost a step from the countertop height to the height of the extension. So I moved them up flush. So now we'll put this on here like that, and it's flush. So if you wanted to sit something on here, you wouldn't run into any difficulty sitting on here. So I'm going to pop some screws into this extension here. Nice gap there, nice reveal. That moved. You know what? There's all 6 screws. Yeah, that looks really good. 6 screws. All right, the countertop's in. Thanks for watching the video. Really appreciate it. Don't forget, smash that subscribe button and share this on your social media. And peace.